Hey, Martha, a lot of folks very excited to see the president here tonight. And tonight's rally, like last night's in Vegas, is all about Republicans holding on to the Senate in the midterm elections and possibly even adding a seat or two to their majority. Missouri is one of their top targets to make that happen. Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill is in one of the toughest re-election battles in the country against State Attorney General Josh Hawley. Now, President Trump won Missouri by 19 points, and he's hoping his popularity will help energize voters and get them out to vote for Hawley in November. McCaskill is a moderate Democrat in an increasingly red state. She's one of 10 Democratic senators up for re-election in states the president won. He's hoping to get voters out to support Hawley 6 weeks from now. Martha?
Garrett, thank you very much. We're watching the president as he kind of walks around the podium area here before he gets ready to speak. As Garrett was saying, this is one of 10 Senate seats that we're watching very closely because it is a red state. Claire McCaskill has been in office there for some time. She's hoping for another round in the Senate. Josh Hawley, her attorney general, is hoping that he can get that seat from her and build on that Trump momentum from the 2016 election, where, as Garrett said, he was ahead by 19 points. This race is pretty much neck and neck. If you look at most of the reads on it, it is going to be a toss-up at this point, as most of those 10 states are. So Democrats would need 2 states to flip the Senate in their direction. They would need to clear 2 states, and the GOP hopes that they'll make big gains in the Senate in order to increase their lead, which the president has said is so tiny small that it makes it impossible to get a lot of things done. So he is there to ramp up the crowd. But, of course, one of the main reasons that we want to listen to some of his comments tonight is because he has been really a lot more out there on the issue of Brett Kavanaugh today in terms of his strident take in his tweets this morning towards Brett Kavanaugh's accuser, asking why she hasn't come forward with her FBI files. All right, let's listen to the president for a moment here.
We're respected again. Hello, Missouri. I'm thrilled to be back in the American heartland. I love you people. With thousands of proud, hard-working patriots. This is an incredible time for our nation. We have the best economy in our history today. In fact, the stock market, which to me is jobs, the stock market hit an all-time high again. Think of it. And that would mean that 101 days we hit an all-time high in the stock market. And I don't say me, I say we, because it's about we. Amazing people. We're bringing back our factories, reopening our mines. You know, those mines, they're reopening. They're reopening. We love our miners. We love our workers. And we're restoring our industrial might like nobody can believe. Nobody believes what's happening. After years of rebuilding other nations, get a little tired of that, right? We are finally rebuilding our nation, and we are doing it with American grit and skill and pride. Right? Our military, do we love our military? Do we love our law enforcement? Do we love ICE? They're tough people. We need tough people to protect. They're dealing with tough people. That's the only thing that, if you look at it, that's what they respect. They respect strength. They respect strength. Our military will soon be more powerful than ever before. And just today, I signed a new bill fully funding Veterans' Choice for our great veterans. America is winning again, winning like never before, and America is being respected again because we are finally putting America first. And it's all going to start with Josh Hawley. We love Josh. We love Josh. He's a star. And he just said it. I didn't say it. He just said it. He said this place broke every record they've ever had. Look at this place. Now, the fake news will never say that. They'll never report that. They'll never report it. They will never report it, but that's okay, because we all know it. And by the way, obviously, look at what happened in 2016. Obviously, remember all the phony polls, the states that we were supposed to lose? And then 8 o'clock, the state closes. Donald Trump has won the state of Texas. Donald Trump has won. Remember, for months, Texas was too close to call, remember? By the way, I have to tell you, Missouri was never too close to call, so that's good. That's good. But remember, Georgia was too close to call. Remember, Utah was too close to call. Okay, so now it's 8 o'clock. They closed in Texas. The polls have just closed in Texas. Donald Trump has won the state of Texas. Donald Trump has won the state of Utah. Donald Trump has won the state of Georgia. I said, wait a minute, I thought it was so close. It should go all night. No, we won like in 2 seconds. You know why? Because they're phony polls. They have phony polls. They're called suppression polls. What they do is, you're with your wife, and you say, Alice, I love Trump, but he can't win because the polls have him. He just can't win. Suppression. So let's go to a movie, and then sadly we'll go home and watch what turned out to be the most exciting night in the history of politics, right? Some night. And all those guys, they may not like us, but you know what? About 6 months before the election, not this one coming up, please go out and vote. Please go out. But in 2020, about 6 months before the election, every single one of those haters is going to endorse us, because without us, they have nobody watching television. They have nobody. They have nobody reading their phony papers, nobody. So we expect endorsements from everybody. We'll get the New York Times. We expect to get the Washington Post.
We are watching the president. He's going back over the victory in 2016. We're waiting and we're listening to see if he reacts to the two big stories that we have been covering for you tonight, one of which is the Kavanaugh story, of course, as we wait to see, as the clock ticks down to 10 o'clock this evening, to see if there is any agreement that's made for a hearing next week in Washington. If not, we're told that on Monday there will indeed be a vote. Also, the Rod Rosenstein story, which is really catching fire out there as well. Let's talk about those, and let's bring in Tom Rogan, Washington Examiner, commentary writer, and Jessica Tarlov, of Bustle.com, Senior Director of Research and a Fox News contributor. Good to have both of you here tonight. Obviously, this is a key Senate race. The president has a pretty tight schedule. He's basically going to as many of these places as he can. Jessica, when you look at the possible impact on the midterms of the Kavanaugh story, potentially even of the Rosenstein story, if the president were to decide that was enough to fire him, how does it look to you?
It looks, I think, largely the same that it did before, which is that I think the Democrats do have a very good chance, about 75% of taking the House back. But you really see a tilt in focus to that 33% chance that they take the Senate back. And I've heard that from a lot of Republicans who are saying that what's going on with Dr. Ford is just a delay tactic so that maybe we can get the majority back in the Senate and have the possibility of getting a liberal justice down the line. I personally don't see us winning the Senate. I think it's going to be very tight margins. As the president said, you know, if someone has a cold, we won't get our votes through. But it definitely matters. The Rod Rosenstein story, it certainly feeds the president's argument that he's been making all along. Even though Rosenstein has categorically denied this and said, even today, I never said anything about the 25th Amendment, nor do I think that he should be removed. But the president has a lot of fodder for this rally tonight, for sure, and a lot of legitimate things that he can talk about. He should focus on the economy more than insulting alleged victims of sexual abuse like he did this morning. I think that would be the preferred tack to take.
Tom, I want to get your thoughts on this Rosenstein story and the suggestion that he said that he would wear a wire and that perhaps he could get John Kelly also looped in and Jeff Sessions looped into the idea of removing the president with the 25th Amendment. You know, and it was also brought up to me earlier today that Rosenstein was, you know, a couple of weeks in the job at this point, hadn't worked with John Kelly, knew with Jeff Sessions, highly unlikely, according to one source I spoke to today, that he would be suggesting this in this room. What dynamic, you know, who's going after him? What do you see in this story? How do you break it down?
Well, yeah, well, I think it's the clear point here is that we're going to need an investigation. I had a piece about this afternoon. I mean, the relationship, because of the power of the Deputy Attorney General, especially in relation to the Russia investigation, and the importance of having a judicial branch that can command the respect of the American people. There has to be an investigation. But critically, there are a lot of questions here about political motivation in perhaps leading this story. Andy McCabe, most obviously, former FBI acting director, under investigation. Others in the Department of Justice perhaps leaking this as a way to delegitimate Rod Rosenstein and perhaps play into the president's hand in terms of giving an excuse to get rid of him. We don't know. We need to know. I think the fortunate thing here is, unlike so many of these investigations, when we do get a look into this, because I think we will, because it is such a powerful allegation, it will be resolved relatively quickly, because the DOJ, the Department of Justice, will know exactly who was in that room the New York Times reports on, because they take lists of all those names. So one way or another, we will get to the bottom of this, I think, quite quickly. Yeah.
Matt Gaetz from Florida has already called for an investigation tonight, saying that he wants to talk to the Judiciary Committee should convene hearings to discuss with every person in the room to get to the bottom of what was said in that room, since there are such serious suggestions in that story tonight. So, you know, quick thought, Jessica, on that before we go to the break.
Well, I totally agree with you that it's somewhat ridiculous to think that Rod Rosenstein seriously said that they should be wearing a wire to do this, and people who were there are suggesting that he said that sarcastically and is quite a sarcastic person. But again, as I said before, this feeds into Trump's narrative. As you see Matt Gaetz, I'm sure we'll hear from Devin Nunes within a few minutes.